resources I was just explaining in my two videos. In the first video, I told about the surface water as well as the groundwater, differences of surface water and the groundwater. Then I explained about the meaning of irrigation, the need for the irrigation, and the importance of irrigation. Then I explained about the we can say the wells. In this wells I said about in unlined wells and the lined wells as well as the tube wells. So I explained there what are the advantages, disadvantages, and how we can improve the wells in our villages as well as in the urban areas. Then I told about the canals. We were dealing with the canals where we explained or we learnt the perennial canals as well as inundation canals. There I explained about the advantages and disadvantages and how we can improve the canal irrigation as well as the perennial irrigation. Now I'm just telling about the tanks. These tanks are constructed in a place where a farmer can easily get the water supply to his agricultural land, because this particular tank irrigation can be constructed with the use of the sand, the brick, as well as the stones available during the construction. It may vary in any of the size. The farmer, as well as in when he is constructing his house, he can have the construction of a tank, or if at all he requires more water to be stored in his agricultural land, then he can construct the tanks in his own agricultural field. So this is seen most of the times in the Deccan Plateau. It may be in Andhra Pradesh, it may be in Tamil Nadu, it may be in Karnataka. Why these particular tanks are seen in the Deccan Plateau? Because the places in the Deccan Plateau are having a hard surface. Like we spoke, in the northern plains, it is very easy to dig the canals because the fertility of the soil and the soil is very soft over there. But here in the Deccan Plateau, there are hard rocks and the soil surface soil is very hard. So it is better to have our own construction. So the tanks are much in use in the Deccan Plateau. So this particular Deccan Plateau is not having the groundwater in it. As I have already told, this Deccan Plateau are having the seasonal rivers. These seasonal rivers get dry up in the summer season. So we will not find the groundwater in a ample quantity. So only we can see this tank irrigation in the Deccan Plateaus. Then when compared to the wells and the canals, these tanks are more cheaper. So people and the farmers go for this tank irrigation. Now coming next is the advantages and disadvantages. What are the advantages of having the tank irrigation? So first and foremost thing is it is economical. Mean it is less expensive. Anybody can go with the tank irrigation. And during the monsoon season, if we allow the water to store in that tank, then we can store n number of water quantity in it and use it during our requirements. Then it raises the underground water. This particular tank irrigation, well, if at all we are having tank, then it raises the underground water. When I speak about the disadvantages, as it is a non-perennial areas, as we don't have the water full in the rivers, it dries up in the summer. This particular tanks dries up in the summer. Water gets evaporated during the summer, and because of this, there are many of the times the water is dried up in many of the rivers. So when I say about explain the tank irrigation, you have to explain advantages, disadvantages, why it is being seen in the Deccan Plateau, what are the reasons that you find the things in the Deccan Plateau. You have to explain this much. Now coming to the rainwater harvesting. What do you mean by rainwater harvesting? Rainwater harvesting is nothing but it is a technique of increasing the recharge of groundwater by capturing and storing the rainwater. So This particular, in simple terms, we can just tell it as storing of the rainwater for the further uses. So this particular rainwater harvesting can be divided into two types. One is the surface runoff and the second is the rooftop harvesting. When I say surface runoff, this particular means that it is the water flow which occurs when soil is infiltrated to full capacity and excess water from rain, snow, melt or other sources flow over the land. So what it is, if at all the water is excess, then it flows over the land. This is surface runoff harvesting. The other thing is the rainwater harvesting or the rooftop harvesting. You can just have a picture in your textbook telling about the rooftop harvesting. It is nothing but the rooftop is a technique through which rainwater is captured from the roof catchments and stored in the reservoirs. We can just take and store whatever the things are in the coming in the form of rain. We can store it and then we can use it for the next purposes. Then what are the needs for the rooftop rainwater harvesting? One is to increase the demand for water. We can, because we are having more and more need for water, we can increase the demand for water if at all we are having this rooftop rainwater harvesting. We can reduce the runoff with chokes. Sometimes there are, because of the chokes, because of a lot of things getting mixed up with water, we may not get enough water to supply for agricultural land. In order to avoid all these choke ups, in order to avoid all these barriers coming in between, we can have the rooftop harvesting. To reduce the groundwater pollution, we can reduce the groundwater pollution. To improve the quality of the groundwater, say when we are storing the water directly, we can improve the groundwater. Then to reduce the soil erosion, the soils are hold tightly by the plants and trees whatever are there, so it stops the soil erosion. Now what are the advantages of this rainwater harvesting? It provides self-sufficiency of water. If at all we are having it in our own places, then we can just take our own equipments and we can supply the water to our agricultural land. It reduces the cost of pumping. For example, for the tube wells, electricity is a must, but here it is not so. You can use it without pumping the groundwater. This provides quality of water, soft water and low in minerals. This will be the best for the use of the plants. So it reduces soil erosion in the urban areas. So these are the advantages and the needs for the rooftop harvesting. So next is water conservation. Now, as I told, there are so many uses of water. The population of India is also increasing day by day. In this all concept, we have to see that we conserve the water in every step of ours. So, a person should see that we will be storing the water when and where it is possible. It is very important for the commercialization of agriculture. Now, when we are thinking of expanding our agriculture, we should think about how can we supply the water which is needed for the plants. Then I have to think about how much is the worldwide usage of the water by the agricultural field. I can just tell about 15% of the worldwide water is used by many of the industries. It may be the chemical industry, it may be the production industries, it may be the fabric industry or whatever industries are located in many parts of our country, we are using it. So it's a prime duty. When water is very essential, we have to store it, we have to conserve it for the next generation. So I hope you people have understood the chapter, whatever is been taught to y'all. So if not, go through the three videos again and again so that the chapter becomes very clear to y'all. You people are having the manual with y'all. You can go through the question answers daily, whatever the topics were covered in the month of Feb to April. Okay, bye till then, take care.